You can still hear and see me?
I can still hear and see you. Of course, I'm not
Perfect.
looking at you because you're down here on my computer. I got another camera
Gotcha.
looking at.
Smart man. Yeah, it looks no, this looks really good.
Good.
Perfect. Okay, 1 second there. It just froze.
Yeah.
I've got you frozen literally like this. It's amazing.
That is awesome. Okay, I'm back.
Okay, I think you're back. There you go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was great. Okay, so the reason I wanted to talk to you today is that OCDSB held a board meeting on Tuesday. Part of the conversation there was about, and I'm trying to get some more information from them on this. I'm trying to talk to some trustees, get as much as I can. So we don't know a ton of information yet, um, but they're looking at reducing class sizes down to I think 15 um, in areas in so-called COVID-19 hotspots in the city. So wherever there have been a high number of cases, those schools would be reducing class sizes. Uh, do you think that's a good move? What do you think of that?
I think it's an excellent move. In fact, I've been fond of saying the number one way of keeping schools safe and open is, of course, to drive the community transmission levels and the incidence rate as low as possible in the general population. But the number two way is physical distancing in the schools and classrooms. And the way you accomplish physical distancing is have a lower student to teacher ratio and larger classrooms. That means smaller class sizes if you can. In fact, I would say with all the additional money coming in, the bulk of that money should be spent on in some way ensuring smaller class sizes. What that threshold is debatable. 15 is a good number. I prefer less than 10. I prefer a one-to-one student to teacher ratio if we could, but that's not feasible. So it's useful for a number of reasons. Smaller class sizes obviously are good to allow the physical distancing in the classroom to reduce the possibility of an infected person having droplets incident on somebody else. It's good to minimize the number of exposures that any given person in that class will have, especially if it's an elementary school class, which is the same cohort they will see every single day throughout the day. So that's good for, again, reducing the number of exposures. It's also good for contact tracing and overall planning around the epidemic. So consider if a case is detected in a class. We don't have to take 30 kids out of the system or an entire grade or the entire school. We can just take that one class of 10 or 15 students out of the system for a week or two while we investigate. And so the machine doesn't have to slow down. It makes contact tracing that much easier. It's a lesser of a strain on our manpower resources. Educationally, it might pay dividends. That is debatable according to the pedagogical literature, but there are probably some good educational outcomes to be had from a lower student to teacher ratio. And definitely the literature suggests that teacher stress will be reduced. Part of the ongoing issue with this epidemic, especially as schools open, is managing the psychology. Anything we can do to reduce anxiety is going to help. So this isn't just performative in the sense that it's going to be a demonstration of things we can do to make people feel good. It actually has some benefits measurably, most notably, as I've mentioned, reducing the chances of exposure.
Do you think it's important to maybe look at things this way more often, as in, and by that I mean, like maybe on a school by school basis, or because here they're targeting areas where we know in the city. Now they haven't said which schools, which areas, but
Yeah,
supposedly they're working with OPH and they're looking. So is it important maybe to do that more often?
yeah,
Look at areas where the virus has hit harder
sure.
than others and take maybe more precautions,
Yeah.
more severe precautions.
It's a good question, and it's a little bit like asking, is a regional approach defensible? And absolutely, a regional approach is defensible because this epidemic has different manifestations in different parts of the province. So what we do in North Bay is different from what we do in Windsor and different from what we do in downtown Toronto. By the same token, in a given city, the disease will manifest differently by different neighborhoods. Now, if you've only got a limited amount of resources, it makes sense to deploy those resources where they can do the most impact. And that means COVID intense neighborhoods get the most resources to minimize the probability of exposure and transmission, then by all means, that makes total sense. If we had more money and resources, I would say do this across the board for all the schools, but we can't probably. So it makes sense to focus our efforts to reduce the probability of transmission in those places where it's most likely to occur. As the pandemic unfolds, And as more outbreaks are detected, we may want to reassess how we spend some of those resources. So there should be some flexibility in the system to retarget our weapon, as it were, as the target moves around the city. But it's a good start.
Perfect. Anything else you wanted to add?
No.
Thanks for taking the time, sir. Glad your wife let you speak with me today.
Fantastic. She doesn't know. She doesn't know yet.
Okay, we'll keep it quiet then. Thanks,
Okay.
man. Appreciate it.